Happy Hour from Uptown New Orleans. Hi, I'm April Stolf, sitting in for Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network, itsneworleans.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is, no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whatever they just got out of a limo or out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you. Because that's New Orleans, and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar. Today, we're at Wayfair on Ferret Street. Wayfair is a restaurant and bar serving handcrafted food and spirits 7 days a week. Wayfair has 3-hour happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. Everything is half-price drinks and appetizers, and they do an awesome brunch on the weekends. Wayfair on Ferret Street. And today, our guests for this show we have Joseph across from me, Joseph Makos. Joseph is a writer, printmaker, and a self-described media archaeologist, having savaged and restored historic printing equipment from at least a dozen print shops to date. Thank you for being on the show,
Thanks for having me. Really happy to be here.
Great, thank you. And then we have Bay. Bay, how are you? Bay is here. Bay has started the NOLA Yoga Tribe, Tribe Yoga here in New Orleans. Her partner is Mackenzie Kirshner, and you started that in 2016. From there, it's grown rapidly, but you're also doing so many other things here in New Orleans as well. So thank you so much, Bay, for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
Bay, that's your real name too, right?
That's my real name. That's my full name. That's the name I was born with. And yes, I know what Bay means.
Bay Cobb Tilton. Let me just give her full name.
Yeah, we got through like a 5-minute conversation in 20 seconds.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd address all your questions.
There was a pre-Bay world, and then now there's post-Bay.
Well, there wasn't, but there was.
Yeah, not for you.
Bay has existed for.
Hurricane Chris. Shouts out Hurricane Chris.
And we have also here, Andre Levitt.
Hello.
Andre Levitt he performs over at the Apple Barrel Bar on Frenchman Street, just below Adolfo's Italian restaurant, which
super delicious.
I love. It's so delicious there. Thank you for being here, Andre.
Of course,
We're looking forward to all of your beautiful music for us today. And then we have C-Rock. C-Rock will be on our show with us.
Yeah, this is my first time sitting in, and it's also my birthday.
Happy birthday,
we've all talked about it, but
yeah.
Last week was April's birthday, so a lot of birthdays here at the Happy Hour family.
I know. When is everybody's birthday here, just since we're on birthdays?
October 21st.
August 14th.
August 2nd.
Are you
Leo.
guys the same? Are you on
I'm
the
a
cusp?
Leo.
We're Leos.
You're both Leos. 2 Leos, and then
Libra, Scorpio, cusp.
ooh, you're cuspy too. Yeah,
It's dangerous.
Look at that.
I love this. So now let's see. You've been. What are you doing as a writer and a printmaker? Like, what are you printing, Joseph? What are you writing about? And I heard earlier that you do have your own podcast too.
Well, okay, so that's it. So I am a writer and I'm a printmaker, but the one thing that I want to sort of just clear the air. Let me clear the air.
Okay.
And the reason actually I reached out to Graham is that I manage an archive here in New Orleans of this is really like what I spend most of my time, of 30,000 historic New Orleans newspapers from 1888 to 1929.
30,000.
30,000. It's 42 years of New Orleans history.
How have you collected all of that over this time?
I got it all at once.
All at once?
All at once.
One time?
Yep. I responded to a Craigslist ad.
And when did you get?
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
That's true.
Now, is this... Okay, so you did... Where was the Craigslist ad? Was it in America? Because I heard a rumor that you had found these in England?
They were...
Or some.
Well, okay, it's a really elaborate, contrived story, but it's true. It's all true, I swear. It's the British Library's New Orleans newspaper archive that they actually, in 1999, they sold off their entire American newspaper archives. And the New Orleans portion was in that bulk of newspapers. But this specific collection was bought by a newspaper dealer in Pennsylvania and then bought by a rare books collector and brought to New Orleans. and they put it in a storefront in Mid-City. And it was carefully and meticulously archived and put in 30,000 airtight, transparent plastic tubes.
Did you happen to bring a tube with you?
I didn't. I ran out the door. I know.
It is.
I didn't bring a tube with me, but there are these plastic tubes that, in each one of them is a newspaper, and it's 1888 to 1929 New Orleans history.
Interesting.
Not just New Orleans history, but it's world history. And you have to really think for a second about what the world was like between 1888 and 1929. This is literally the beginning of aviation, the beginning of radio, the beginning of automobiles, the beginning of so many things that make the modern world that we live in now. So it's basically the dawn of the modern era of New Orleans history. It's the golden age of illustration into the beginning of photography. There's a lot of dynamic content in this archive.
I would love to read those. Did you start from the beginning, or did you just like pick one and read it?
When I got the archive, and still, I mean, it was completely out of order. So I couldn't start January 1st on the first day of the first year.
Have you read them all?
No, you can't. There's no possible way. There's no possible way to read 40 plus years of New Orleans history in just 4 years.
That's so. This is like the perfect timing for that, because we're our 300-year anniversary right now. So.
You got
How long do you think it's going to take you to finish the rest?
Reading.
Really?
Are you saying like how long is it going to take me to read?
How much have you read so far?
Well, okay, well, first of all, let's think about like how much content is on a single page of a newspaper. It's a lot, especially the older newspapers where the typeface is like 7-point. I mean, it's tiny.
Ooh.
It's tiny. But I can say in the last 4 to 5 years since having this, I've looked at. Can't say I've read from start to finish, but I've looked at over 15,000 front pages.
That's how I feel about Instagram posts.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Right. No. This is fine. It's I know what you're saying. You just kind of scroll through. You can look at 10,000 Instagram posts in a day if you really, your thumb might be tired, but this is literally 15,000 front pages of news stories.
Yeah.
It's a lot of content.
The front page alone. I mean, everybody wants to know what's on the cover, right? So with the how many pages are in the first? Have you looked at the first one yet, or read like the first one?
But when you say the first one, what does that mean? What do you mean by that?
Like back in 18, like the beginning of the collection. Have you found the beginning of the collection?
I do not think that I found January 1st, not 1888. No.
Okay.
No, that's not. This is like a needle in a haystack situation.
What's been the most interesting front page you've read so far?
Ooh, that's really good. Good question. The paper from the day after the French Opera House burned down, okay, in 1919, was a very sad day in New Orleans history. Very, very sad day. Actually, it was responsible for the French Opera House burning down was, I mean, think about like the center of cultural New Orleans, right? Like the French Opera House during that period was the center of all performing arts and culture. Imagine that burning down, and imagine what the New Orleans people felt like the next day, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like that. Reading that account of the fire and the smoldering ashes and just what people were thinking in the French Quarter at that point. I mean, it's a pretty intense story to just read. Like the face of the city changed that day.
Was it arson?
They don't know. It was never discovered. No, it was never discovered what happened.
Like a good mystery.
Yeah.
It does sound like a New Orleans mystery.
It does sound like a New Orleans mystery. Let's see. Axe murderer stuff.
Yeah, I know about the axe murderer.
Yeah, the axe murderer.
He loved jazz music.
He did. Wow.
Yeah.
I've never.
Do you know him, Andre?
This is the first I'm hearing of this, and I'm very interested.
The axe murderer of New Orleans.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
We're kind of stepping on the toes of that podcast, My Favorite Murder.
Oh, that's all right.
It's one of the most popular podcasts, but they have that episode about that crazed axe man of New Orleans.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate about this. It's from about, I believe it's 1917 through 1919 for about 3 years. There was an axe man who terrorized the city of New Orleans. And there's a lot of debate surrounding it, whether or not there might have been like copycats. It might have not just been one person. There might have been other people, because they can't say with definitive proof, because the person was never caught. They don't know how many of these murders can be attributed to this one person.
What years was this, and is he still around?
No,
And it was definitely
He's dead
a he,
as hell.
let's be honest.
1917 to 1919.
Well, you're
1920.
missing the best
But, like,
part of the story. Is
I haven't
that-
gotten there
okay.
yet.
All right, I'll let you get there.
Are you talking about the famous night where he writes the letter to the newspaper?
Exactly. He's the original Zodiac.
Yeah.
Right, sending in the letters.
Yeah, but
How
but
do you know this, T-Rock?
I know.
What do you know about this?
well, I
you
mentioned
reading?
that podcast. I'm not going to do more free press for them, but then it's also like it's sort of like New Orleans lore. You know, we love that over here at Happy Hour.
Yeah, in 1919, supposedly the axe murderer wrote a letter to the newspaper that said, you know, if jazz is played in every club and every venue in town tonight, that I won't kill anyone. You know, there will be no murder tonight. There will be no
Yeah, he
axe
said
murder.
if there's a jazz record or a band going on in your parlor, I won't come into your house.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. But I will say this: I've talked to top people at the Picayune, a writer at the Picayune who has done a lot of extensive research on this, and we both think that it's a hoax.
Okay.
We both think that the Times-Picayune wrote the letter to that it was a hoax, and that they wrote the letter to themselves to sell newspapers.
Interesting.
That's
Because
not
why-
that cool, though.
Why would the axe murderer? Well, it's potentially, who knows? Why would the axe murderer write a letter to the newspaper?
Yeah. Well, I find that very interesting to think of the idea that like New Orleans is responsible in building our own like legend, that like we love jazz, and that maybe some serial killer might be so motivated by like the love of music that he would spare people, and it sort of builds this like beautiful romantic myth about New Orleans.
We love jazz now, but you should know the first written article in the local newspaper on jazz. It's called On Jazz and Jazzism, was a scathing critique of this new music as a negative thing. So the newspapers and the media here in New Orleans was not always celebrating jazz. At one point in time, jazz was looked at in a very negative sense.
Well, I think that jazz today is definitely not in a negative sense. And Bae, would you put jazz in your yoga classes? Like, would you have that
Would
like
you have
jazz
Andre
music
play
as your
for your yoga
as
class?
your booty
I don't even
music?
really
Andre,
play-
you can play any yoga class for
I don't
me
usually
ever.
play jazz music, but I mean, I'd love to come play, of course.
For
anytime.
booty music.
I feel like it all comes from jazz though.
booty
That is very
music.
true.
Booty
I mean, yeah.
music. So, Bae, you do. Okay, wait. You have a few different types of yoga that you're doing. I read this on your
I
website.
do, like,
today.
all the yoga.
You have booty yoga, which
Yeah.
I actually have been to one of
You
those.
have?
Yeah. it's
Yeah, wait, with
really
me?
fun. Not with you. There's
Okay.
another booty girl that does.
Megan.
Can you please
Is-
tell us what booty
Okay,
yoga
it's
is?
spelled B-U-T-I, just so that
Everybody knows.
It's
Oh,
not.
okay,
It's not
okay.
B-O-O-T-Y.
So I was gonna be like, that's another New Orleans tradition.
And they do it within like a black light, and everybody paints themselves like in tribal
So that's
colors, right?
I think
And-
we're blending a couple different kinds, but yeah, I
Okay.
do it all. If it's high energy, if it's like club level, that's the kind of yoga I want to be teaching.
Tell
Loud
us
music.
about- where was that? You were doing
That was at Republic.
Okay.
At the club.
at the club, of course. I mean, you know,
Yep.
why not?
I like-
and you're
yeah.
at Higher Power.
I teach at Higher Power like 3-4 times a week, and then I do NOLA Tribe like 2 to 3 times a week.
I have a question about Republic. It was
Yeah.
on the
So-
floor of Republic or on stage or
To be fair, I was on the stage.
Oh, okay.
But
This
my
makes sense.
sweet, amazing yogis were on the floor for Republic.
yeah,
So
was the
bless their
VIP balcony
hearts.
open?
VIP balcony was
Yeah.
open, but for drinks,
Uh-huh.
because I don't discriminate if someone wants to have a drink before yoga or during yoga or after yoga.
I didn't know that was the sort of discrimination against.
I think there's some pretentious
alcoholics?
yogis out
Yeah.
there, but I'm not one of them.
That's good to hear.
The booty yoga is very high energy. And it's,
Yeah.
I found it to be at tribal. It's a lot
It's
of fun.
like tribal dance, plyometrics, yoga, and hit. Maybe a little bit of hit. Like
yeah.
If you burpee and mountain climbers, and it's
When did you
athletic.
start practicing?
Yoga. I took my first class in high school when I was like 15 at boarding school. And then when I was in college, I had a professor who was like this ex-lax bro who after college had gone and lived in a cave for 7 years and taken like a vow of silence. And he was inspirational, I guess. I thought he was super cool. So I got into yoga a lot when I was at Duke.
And you went to Duke University. And what did you study there?
Public policy and history and women's studies.
Of course.
Of course.
I'm wondering about this side of the table. Have you guys done yoga ever?
I have never done yoga.
Andre.
So what would you suggest?
What should
Someone
I
who's
do?
never
What should
done
my
yoga.
first yoga?
Where does he jump in?
You look so
Honest-
excited, Andre.
To be he was like, well, not really.
I mean,
I just like the question, what should be my first yoga?
I don't know.
I don't. So I love a good beginner yogi, but I don't think you'd want to do it with me.
All right.
To be
Fair
honest, I don't take it easy. But you should definitely start with a beginner yoga class.
So you have, you have classes though too at the Chop Yard. And are you
Yeah.
still, I mean, not like today because it's cold, it's bloody cold outside, right?
Literally
So
freezing.
we would not be out there, but they do it outside in the Chop Yard. And
What is that called? I think I've heard of it
Have you
before.
been to like Chapatus?
The class.
Like free spirited yoga at Chop Yard.
Maybe. I don't know.
So yeah, that's every Wednesday, and we'll be doing that again in March. We'll be back after the Mardi Gras, but we're everywhere. We're at St. Roch Market on Mondays.
I have seen you there because I live right
You?
around, like,
That's a great
I live
space.
behind Market, so.
We love, it's a big gallery with like, if you're hosting an event, you should look into St. Roch. It's awesome.
Babe, we've got someone online who they want to know more about your hat. They said,
Shut
where
up.
can I get one of those hats?
Where do you get the hat?
Dat Mambo shirt says. Where can I get one of those hats?
Dat Mambo shirt. I'm wondering where I can get one of Doe's shirts. I think it's online probably.
Yeah. You
What do you
it
mean?
just
This is
arrived
like-
one day, or?
I have lots of things like this.
Yeah. It's like a combination of a winter hat and like a baseball hat.
It's the perfect New Orleans winter and a Pomeranian.
Yeah.
And a Pomeranian.
Thomas says Pomeranian.
I would call it fashion forward. Okay, so I have like a thing where I really love shopping at like the hood rat stores.
We can't call it that.
So
What is it, like
you'd
Goodwill?
never find it.
Did you get it from, like, City
No, Goodwill's-
Trends or something?
Probably. I don't even
Yeah,
know
right
what
on
it's called.
right on Claiborne.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. I couldn't find it again if I tried. But I love novelty.
What do you think about
I love
these
it.
guys' outfits? They're so dapper.
You look
They're,
Okay,
they're
so
making the rest of
dapper.
us look like
Andre,
shit.
you look so good.
I know,
Thank
you
you
guys
so much.
both look
Hey,
so
Joseph
what's
looks great,
happening
too.
with
He
these
looks great.
patterns?
I appreciate it.
It's like everybody's fashion comes out when the weather drops.
You can layer and
Yeah.
So
wear
true.
not
No.
shorts.
Where did you guys go? What have you been doing all day today? No, what have you, that you look so great?
I got dressed 5 minutes before I got over, so.
Oh, really?
You look so good.
I wake up every day and wear this,
This
every
is
day.
what you wear
It's
every
my
day?
uniform. I just own like 10 of the same white shirt, 10 black ties. It's 10 of
It's
everything.
like Steve
suits.
Jobs.
And I just wear the same thing all the time.
I can't parse this. It might be a joke.
I don't think it's that much of a joke.
Well, I mean, when you find things that you fit, that you're comfortable in, and
I really
and
like your scarf vest situation.
I know. It's like a whole nother layer to
It's
cover my
herringbone.
midriff.
I really love it though.
Yeah, it's like a little
Like, he's got a
houndstooth going on.
vest.
Yeah, he's got a real
Yeah.
vest.
You've got a.
Vest
This is a makeshift
My parents
winter
gave this to me
vest.
for Christmas.
And your
I
guitar
love it.
matches, and it goes.
yeah. I
You
love
look
this
so
guitar.
good. You have this
You look
whole
so
look.
good.
Maybe we can play a song right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I can
Andre?
definitely do that.
Yeah. You think it's time for a song, guys?
Why not?
Okay.
Can you tune my guitar?
Do I have to hold the mic? This one?
Before we start, can we get a name for the song?
Yes, this song is called Heartbreak and Cocaine.
Perfect.
It is a song I wrote about the summer of 2014.
It's a perfect song to sing right
Yeah.
after there's a little snow going on in New Orleans. If you know what I mean.
Perfect weather to go skiing.
Yeah, and this is
Hit the
also the
slopes.
title track off of my band's upcoming album. So. Heartbreak and cocaine got me again. All that I really need right now is a friend. I can't eat, I can't sleep. That's what I get. Oh, and it comes with a territory of this regimen. And I'm just a oh, I hate what I let her do to me. It's embarrassing how I cannot move on. I feel like a sucker. Can't help but want to. She has become another drug I crave, and I'm just a shame on me. I should know better. Shame on me, 'cause I'll never learn. Shame on me. Oh, I should know better. Shame on me, 'cause I'll never learn. Shame on me. Oh, I should know better. Shame on me, 'cause I'll never learn. No, I'm just heartbreak and cocaine. It got me again, but right now they're my only friends. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Andre.
Thank you.
That is beautiful.
That was excellent, yeah.
That was
Thank you.
great.
Appreciate it.
So you wrote that in 2014?
Yeah.
Or about 2014.
Both? I don't know.
What was happening in 2014?
That was when I broke
gotta
up
guess,
with
yeah.
Christine Marie. And yeah, there's a lot of partying going on. My very good friend had also broken up with his girlfriend, so we were just on the town a lot. Or just drinking and partying
Are you living here?
all day long. No, I was living in Seattle at the time. And,
Where are you from?
I've lived everywhere. My dad was in the Air Force, so moved around a bunch, and now I'm here.
When did you get here?
The beginning of 2015, so right after that summer.
Did your band come with you, or you met them
No,
here?
my band was formed here just through random connections and.
I think they're the Bourbon Bastards.
That was my old
Yeah.
band. It's very.
We don't talk about them.
No, they're actually wonderful people.
Okay.
They're just everyone's doing.
Well,
different
shout out
stuff
to them
now.
then.
Yeah, everyone's doing different things. Ben's in New York right now. Colin's working on other projects here, and same with Matthias is just hanging out. But yeah, that was the first band I had here. Now I'm the Andre Lovett Band is my
Okay.
band. You can see us every Monday night at the Apple Barrel at 10:30, and every Thursday night at BMC at 8 o'clock. And then I play solo on Wednesdays at 6:30 at the Apple Barrel.
So I'm wondering, on the record, is it gonna sound that stripped down, or is it more of a?
The record is gonna be. I'm not gonna play on that song at all for the record. My keyboard player Nat is gonna do a whole key intro, and then bass drums, and then there's gonna be a sax solo thrown in there as well. So it's just as emotional, but it's a little more to it, more meat to it. So
Who are some of your contemporaries, and then who are your OG inspirations?
oh man, I don't know. I've listened growing up. I listened to a lot of Boys to Men, and Usher, stuff like that.
90s R&B.
90s R&B, and then in the 2000s, I was listening to what everybody was listening to in the 2000s, like that kind of
More
heavier-
Usher.
more Usher, but also
Lil Jon.
more of also the rock, the
Okay,
alt rock,
Fall Out Boy.
yeah,
Chumbawamba.
so, I mean a little bit of that, but also stuff like John Mayer was coming out in the
Okay,
Fray and
yeah,
stuff
sure.
like that, but it was more guitar bass, singer songwriter kind of stuff. So Damien Rice, all that.
Yeah, Damien Rice is great.
Yeah, that's.
Andrew Bird was in there too,
Oh yeah,
doing all
for
sorts
sure.
of
Yeah,
stuff.
so yeah, it's.
I always thought John Mayer was kind of a chump at the beginning, but he's really kind of come into his own.
He really, I mean,
and he's
it's
done a lot of great stuff,
Yeah,
you know?
playing. I mean, his guitar playing is ridiculous, and
But at the beginning, it was
I mean, he was just some singer songwriter guy that got popular. I mean,
I still think he's a
making
chump.
really
Yeah.
cheesy songs. Oh man, he plays with the Dead now.
Yeah, but I think the Dead suck also.
Oh man. Yeah.
Hot takes.
Is that a hot? It just recently became a hot take because everyone's now all like, "Oh, the Grateful Dead's amazing," but
Yeah.
5 years ago, anyone would have been like, "Oh, that's an
yeah,
acid
it's just-
band."
yeah. I mean,
you want to go see 50-year-old men with whippet balloons
Yeah.
in their mouth,
It still is an acid band, man.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But I
Still
guess
is,
I guess people are more accepting of that now.
I mean,
Well, they just, they
Drugs.
connected with a completely different generation of people. Now we have new acid bands now. You know,
Like,
I would say Animal Collective's an acid band.
yeah,
You know, in a completely different way.
I love Animal Collective, but I don't love acid.
Oh, okay. But they're an acid band, aren't they? Kind of.
Sort of, yeah,
Little
Yeah.
bit?
a little bit, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I would agree with you on both of
Yeah.
those. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, New Orleans. New Orleans is really rooted in its musical traditions a lot, and I think, there are experimental nights. There's an upstairs experimental night at the Blue Nile, I think, and
Yeah.
and there's some experimental stuff that happens a lot at
Instant
at,
Opus.
at
it's at the
on
Highland
OC
now?
Haley. There's
Yeah.
some stuff that happens at the Zeitgeist. They do some concerts and things from
Yeah.
time to time over there. But I think in general that the experimental acid scene in New Orleans is, I don't think we necessarily have a lot of acid bands here right now these days.
I don't run in that circle, so I don't know.
You don't run in that circle,
But
yeah.
maybe there is. Who knows? people are playing a bunch of different stuff around here. So
What about like your contemporaries? Like, I felt like Sam Smith is pretty similar to.
yeah, that's like something that I listen to. It's on the radio. And then my band covers "Stay With Me," like, which is one of his songs. So it's like, yeah. And then like older stuff, I listen to like Bill Withers and Sam Cooke, maybe the people that Al Green, people that everybody knows. So those are my old school.
The soul.
Like the '60s, like '50s kind of soul.
Temptations.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Best.
The stuff that my parents grew up on, I guess you could say. But yeah.
The age of records.
Yeah.
The age of 33s. Yeah.
Exactly. But
I feel like on Frenchman though, you're like expected to play like a few songs and like not sort of deviate from what tourists want to hear. Mostly.
That is very true, and I would definitely say I've gotten like side eye from people that have just like, oh, why is my band? Why is his band playing The Weeknd on a club on Frenchman? I'm like, but it's packed in here, so
These are always
you
packed.
gotta adjust with the times, and I'm just playing stuff that I like and that people want to hear. So
How many people are in your band?
5 including me. So there's me, bass player, sax player, drummer, and what did I leave out? Bass?
Keyboard maybe?
Keyboard, there we go.
The
How can I
keyboard
leave
always
out
gets
that?
left out.
No, and my keyboard player is amazing in that one. He's fantastic. But yeah, I really like the group of guys that I have put together, and everybody brings something different to the table, which is nice. So I don't have to do as much when there's a lot of songs where I don't necessarily have to play guitar or anything. I can just rely on the keyboard player to carry the song, and then the sax player is going to solo halfway through or something. So it's like I don't have to necessarily do as much, and I can concentrate on hyping the crowd and singing instead of playing and worrying about the next part of the song. So it's nice to be able to have the support around you of other musicians.
I feel like you've gotten yourself in clearly you've gotten yourself into a real special location too. I think the Apple Barrel is a really specific, special thing on Frenchman, and still.
Yeah, it really
still.
is.
Yeah.
It's one of the holdouts, as far as
Have you been there?
not
Not yet.
not falling into that trap of just playing what the people want. And I think the Apple Barrel is still a special.
Yeah.
It's still a special place.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely traditional jazz and blues people that play there. But,
Sure.
But it's not the only thing that's going to be... And I think there's a lot of places opening up to more different types of music, especially if it's I guess you can call it new soul. So artists like Leon Bridges that are doing new music. He's 27 years old, but it still sounds like it could have been written in the 50s or 60s. So
my roommate just introduced me to Leon Bridges, and she's playing it so loud in the place, and amazing.
yeah, he's great. And that's another new artist that I really appreciate and listen to, and I guess take after a little bit in terms of newer stuff that I'm working on. So,
Is this your full-time job?
yes, playing music, and then when I'm if I'm not gigging, I'll just go busk on Royal Street and just take my acoustic and play some solo stuff for a couple hours. And
I think I've seen you on Royal. You like to be a little bit further down.
yeah,
a little
usually
bit-
I'm in Down by Cafe on the
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
in the Cornstalkins Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Against
quieter.
the wall there,
Yeah.
right by Nadine Blake's shop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's quieter down there.
I just walk around the French Quarter a lot. I see people.
Yeah, I'm in the
I've
Quarter
definitely heard his voice in the French Quarter for sure.
Do you see dead people too?
No, I don't see that
Walking through
people.
a
But
haunted
this is the
quarter.
perfect time for me to read you an article that I found
Okay, good.
from 1895 when New Orleans was covered with 8 inches of snow. Can I just read you the introduction
Yeah,
to this
please.
article?
Perfect.
It's a kind of a funny article. It's The South Under Snow, and it's from February 15th, 1895. And here's the intro. It says, "A white city for one day, Another record broken by New Orleans weather, over 8 inches of snow falling before midnight and converting Sunshine's capital into a frozen field, the strange garment readily accepted by the people, and said citizens and playful youths joined forces in celebrating the unusual event in a lively way, the stoppage of streetcars, the only inconvenience experienced. That's just the intro.
That's beautiful.
Right?
Who wrote that? Does it
That's
like?
I don't. I think this might have just
Not
been
that we know the person.
It might be an editorial just by the newspaper. It's the front page actually. So it's this. Yeah, it's interesting that you just observed that it's really beautiful. It's poetic. Let's really get to the poetry though. This is the beginning of the article. An Arctic breath swept over the city yesterday. The weather, like a Scandinavian myth with enormous nostrils extended all over Dixie, blew a glaciating vapor that congealed and fell as snow. He laid an icy hand on the sunny Southland and dared to grin a hibernial grin in the very face of the Gulf of Mexico. Bleak, jellied, and frostbound, and sound wears a mantle she seldom dons. New Orleans has put on a raiment of snow like a wedding garment, and as if the city were about to plight a troth with the brumal poles, the very winds of the Bay of Baffin have played the march in a lamentation, and the rooted breezes that steal up from the Carib and the Pearl of the Antilles have fled in disorder before the cohorts of the land of the Aurora Borealis.
So, like, is that how you pick up women? Is just to read
Jesus.
old newspapers? You're like, let me read something to you.
From my archives.
They swoon.
From my archives.
Why, do you know somebody who'd be interested?
Wow.
That is beautiful.
Some long-winded. Well, it's really
It's
long.
beautiful.
It's
so beautiful. We should write like that more. Like,
Well,
I would read the paper more.
I think it's because I mean, think about how many. We were more literary 100 years ago. We were 225 years ago. We were more literary. I think we knew more words. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about, if you ran a scan of all the words in the Times-Picayune and, you saw how many words the writers use these days, aside from some writers, some are expansive, but I think that it was entertainment a little bit more. I think it was more literary. I think that back 120 years ago, I think that they were more well read, and I think that the things that they were reading, not just in the paper, but high literature and literature in general, I think it was flowery and colorful and descriptive in a certain way that is not today. I think it's about just, clocking words, clocking word counts today. I think it's
Literacy is much
Yeah.
higher today, though. So there's like definitely a trade-off. Whereas we're not writing as well, but literacy is much more like common throughout society. Whereas maybe 120 years ago, maybe 40% of the population could read.
Sure. You mean literacy as far as how many people read, not how many people read the newspaper.
I mean just the ability to read.
The ability to read. Yeah, of course. It's much higher.
But yeah, back then novels were like movies. They didn't have Netflix. They didn't have the theaters. Well, they had
Or
the start of
Instagram
theaters.
Indeed, I even found an article. I found an
Read
article.
the paper.
Yeah, the paper.
Yeah,
I found,
the paper.
I found an
That's so
article
pretty.
recently introducing movies, like in quotes, like movies. This is what a movie is, right? And explaining to people like what it was to go to the movies and the cinema and to see a film. Or it wasn't even called film. It was just the movies, And it was an extension of vaudeville for people. That's what it was. It was you came and saw a play, and then you came and saw a 7-minute or 7-second clip of film. And there was in the 1890s. A lot of people don't know this, but in the 1890s there was a place called the Vitascope Hall on Canal Street, and it was the first.
What's it called?
It's called the Vitascope Hall, and it was the first. It was the first dedicated movie theater in America here on Canal Street. It only lasted for a few months. It was only 3 or 4 months, and they used to show films up at West End, which was on the lake, up toward Bucktown and Lakeview. But there was a little area there where they would show films, and the first films ever shown in Louisiana were here in New Orleans, and they had to, in order to power the projector to show the movies, they had to run the power off the streetcar line, and they had to run it through barrels of water in order to, as a makeshift transistor,
Cool.
because the power off the streetcar lines was too powerful for the projector, and they had to sort of like, change the voltage, and then they showed films, and they would show these like 5-second, 10-second, 20-second films, and the one that was the most controversial is called The Kiss. It's a super famous 12-second movie from that time, and it was so controversial, like people didn't want them to show it because it was a man kissing a woman, and it was too private. And the city shut it down and was like, you can't show that anymore. Only private showings of this little 12-second film of a kiss.
Oh, wow.
Meanwhile, like on vaudeville, didn't they have like their boobies out?
They did, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of that.
Something about putting it on screen, though. It's just.
I think it was. I think as soon as we started changing the way that we, we're doing it now. Like, we've got an iPad here and a phone and phones and social media. I think as soon as we started bringing photography into the world, it really changed the way that we viewed reality. I don't want to get too heavy here, but it literally changed the way. Imagine if you open the newspaper for the first time and there was a photograph in there, not an illustration, not a drawing of the director of the French Opera House, but a photograph of that person. And then you start to get used to it. You start to see photographs. It really changed. I think it really changed. I mean, photography in general changed the way that we viewed reality.
It's so beautiful that you have this. Do people have access? Like, do we have access to these archives? Have they been uploaded? You only
Right
have to
here, right here.
unravel
Gotta
them.
talk to Joseph.
No, I've been working really hard to sort of triage this archive, and I think there's something in it for everybody. I really do. I think you can come to the archive space and you can ask it a question, and you can pull a couple tubes out of the wall, and it'll answer your question. I really think that it has oracular powers to sort of give you or reveal to you something about yourself that maybe you didn't know, and answer this question.
Before we started recording, we were talking about vinyl and tapes, and I feel like now you're sort of like forecasting a resurgence in like people being interested in print.
There's been some studies in the last year, some academic papers and studies put out by the British Museum and British Library that talk about print and the retention of data and information. I think we go through our social media, our Facebook, our Instagram, and I think we look at it and we love it for a second and then we forget it.
People want something real.
But let's be honest. Is everyone reading a book right now? Does everyone have a book that they're reading?
I am.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Right.
This is a good group, though.
And do you feel that you retain more when you read a physical book?
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's something about it.
And write in it and highlight and
I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
The book talks to me.
I always read with a pencil or not a highlight, but I write with a pencil and I circle things, and I always have a couple note cards tucked in there, and I if there's a word I don't know, I look it up or I write it on a list to look up those words to expand my understanding and vocabulary.
It
is.
It is very intimate. It becomes an intimate relationship and conversation. And with that, I would like to talk
speaking
about...
of reading...
Speaking about intimates, I would like to share with us our sponsors for today. So Happy Hour is brought to us today by Basics Swim and Gym, a full range of fashion, swimsuits, workout, and yoga clothes with style. Bikinis, one-piece, cover-ups, everything you need for beach and poolside is at Basics Swim and Gym, right next to the lingerie store Basics Underneath on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue. We also have the Hangover Destroyer. It's the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover after happy hour. Go to the Hangover Destroyer website, hdestroyer.com. Write happy hour in the coupon code and get 30% off Hangover Destroyer and seize the dawn. Also, with Louisiana Legs workout and yoga clothes. That Bay over here, she does sponsor that for her show, for her yoga shows. And that's the designs that incorporate photographic art like Mardi Gras beads, bold crawfish, wrought iron, fences in France, and caves in China. You can find Louisiana Legs on Facebook and Instagram, and you can buy Louisiana Legs on Etsy. They are designed by our photographer, Allison Moon.
Hi, girl.
So as we have to begin to wrap up, we would love to hear another beautiful song from you, Andre. So if we can take it to Facebook Live.
What's this one called?
I don't know yet.
You gonna write a new song right now for us?
I am not.
He's picking it.
I'll play the newest song I wrote. It's called Nowhere. Can't believe I let you get to me with your history. I should have known we were going nowhere, but I fell for you. I shouldn't have, should have second guessed, 'cause I'm a fool for love. Baby, I'm a fool. I'm a fool, 'cause we were going nowhere, way too fast. But we kept on going. I should've known you were going down the hill. You spoke to me like you never knew me, but you knew, yeah, you knew that we were going nowhere, way too fast. But I kept on going. If I can go back in time, if I can go back, if I can go back in time, if I can go back, if I can go back in time. If I can go back, I would not change a single thing, 'cause we'd still be going nowhere. Oh, we'd still be going nowhere. Oh, it's still been going nowhere, 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 going nowhere, nowhere, nowhere. Sometimes nowhere is where you end up going. Sometimes nowhere is where you gotta be. Oh, sometimes nowhere is where you end up going. And I'd still be going nowhere fast with you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so again, we can find you at the Apple Barrel on, you said, on Mondays.
Yes, Monday night with my full band at 10:30, Wednesday night solo at 6:30, and then BMC with my band at 8 o'clock on
BMC is
Thursdays.
Anything on Spotify or Apple Music? Or
No, this next album will be on...
coming soon.
Yeah, so...
When you thinking of putting that out?
We're going to start recording right after Mardi Gras, so...
It's exciting.
Yeah, so...
Hey, do you have anything coming up for Mardi Gras? Anything special?
I have tons of classes. Follow me on Instagram at NOLA Tribe Yoga or at Yoga Bay. And follow us on Facebook at NOLA Tribe Yoga, or you can just come in like an hour and shake out and lunch out your booty with me at 6 p.m. at NOLA Spaces. 6:30 p.m.
Where's NOLA Spaces?
NOLA Spaces on Toledano. So yeah, y'all should come.
Yeah.
You guys can have your first
Your
yoga
suits,
class.
maybe we may have to shed these fancy jackets and scarfests, but y'all can still come.
It could be like a hot yoga.
Yeah, well, it
class,
should
right?
be. You know, you should just rip off the button down and let it all hang out. Move freely.
Yeah, and I just want to say, if you're interested in the project archive, check out us on Facebook, NOLA DNA, Instagram, NOLA DNA, Twitter. We're on the social medias, and NOLADNA.com as well.
Are you doing anything for the 300th?
Yeah, so many things that I can't talk about right now because we're out of time. So many things.
Are we?
If you have an idea,
We got like
Throw a big party
10
and
minutes?
invite us.
Can you go a little longer?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. There's like a lot of little pieces, parts, little things that I get calls every week. You want to be involved with the project. I'm focusing this year on a lot of really in-depth research on a few topics. I'm doing one project. One project that's gotten some attention is we're developing using old 1920s motor log sections from the paper. In the 20s, there was road trip sections where they would give you a map and you could go on a little road trip. So we're going to be digitizing those and turning those into an interactive media piece where you can go and you can do a 1920s road trip yourself, just like they would do 100 years ago. And it's sort of raising awareness to how much the golf has changed in 90 years, in almost 100 years. One event I want to bring everyone's attention to that I'm not allowed to tell you that I'm involved in, but that is still a very cool event happening at the Music Box. The Music Box in the Bywater, okay, down. All right.
we love the Music Box.
The crew of Vaporwave is doing a World's Unfair Carnival Ball on the 2nd of February. Yeah, instead of the 1984 World's Fair, it's called World's Unfair. So it's sort of a tribute to, and we're having a carnival ball, and there's going to be lots of art installations
They're
going on.
sort of all things digital though, and all things like internet. I'm wondering how the old school stuff interfaces with that.
It interfaces it very much because part of my goal of this physical archive is to bring it online and to scan it and to turn it into new media.
Makes sense.
That's definitely part of what we have. It's almost a miracle. We have all these originals and we can go back with 2018 technology and bring it to life in a brand new way. So it's apparent why Crew of Vaporwave would be a partner and while I'm interested in them, because the Crew of Vaporwave is, of course, the first ever virtual carnival parade. You can enjoy a carnival parade from the comfort of your own home.
But you don't get to dress up.
You can dress up. You
just
can
at
dress up.
home, though.
Last
And,
year, last year was a video game where you can actually download the video game and run around in this virtual environment and collect coins, and then you could take those coins to different locations and redeem them for for actual throws.
What do you think about that, Bae?
I'm into it.
Yeah, you like the idea of staying at home and watching a parade?
No. Sorry. No. No, I like to party.
We like to party too. That's why we're having an
Just invite me.
That's why we're having an IRL ball. It's an in real life thing.
In real life, I know.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
at the
that's
Music
good.
Box.
That's
In
good
real life.
that people, yeah.
When is that coming up?
In the 2nd of February, it'll be it's a big
that
it's a big
Thursday
party.
night?
Yeah, World's Unfair. No, I think it's a Friday night. World's Unfair.
Unfair
Yeah.
party. You take that
Did
so
we
many
ever have a
different
World's
ways.
Fair in New Orleans?
1984.
Okay.
Yeah, Marc Morial was mayor. Jacques Morial.
I feel like that's past the prime of the World's Fair though, because they're like real turn of the century, like
Yeah, the 1984 World's Fair New Orleans was a horrible failure. That's why we're celebrating it as the World's Unfair.
I remember that. I did have a good time though. Do you guys remember the World's Fair? You weren't here. You probably weren't born.
I was not born.
I was not born
also
either, actually, unfortunately.
Almost born.
Almost conceived.
soon.
I was 5, but I wasn't here.
Well, we will wrap today. Thank you guys so much for being
Thanks
on our
for
show
having us.
today.
Yeah.
You guys know where to find everyone. You can also go to the itsneworleans.com, follow us on Facebook. But I would like to shout out our credits to producer Graham DuPont. Our associate producers are Allison Moon and myself filling in for Grant Morris today. Music director Christian Unrad. Music producer Jean Valois. Technical director Thomas Walsh. Facebook Live feed director Esther Griffiths. Fact checker and social media connector Andrew Sirach. Happy birthday, Andrew. Theme music was written by and is being played by Mitch Foreman. If you'd like to be on the show, drop us a line. Our address is on our website. Check out our other happy hours and other shows. Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, live at Commander's Palace. The award-winning Death the Podcast, named by Paste Magazine as one of the top 40 podcasts in the U.S., and Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tooker. You can also find other great Louisiana podcasts at itsacadiana.com and itsbatonrouge.la. Keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media. On all of that, we're It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and our Facebook page. The photos are taken today by Allison Moon. If you're listening to this on your podcast app, thanks for subscribing. Take a moment to rate and review us. That helps other people find us. This show was recorded live today at Wayfair on Ferret Street in Uptown New Orleans. Here we go again.
There we are.
Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhan, everyone around the table here at Wayfair, and back in our office at INO Broadcasting, thanks for joining us. I'm April Stolf. Grant will be back next week. I hope you'll join him and the rest of us then for more Happy Hour. Thanks, guys. This was so good.
Geico presents Yikes! Another voicemail from your roommate.
Sup, roomie? Hey, a pipe burst in the basement. It's completely flooded. Anyway, I called for someone to fix it, but in the meantime, I was thinking we could finally have that indoor pool party we've always wanted. I got some cool swan floaty things already going. Could you pick up some chips on your way home? Later.
The Geico Insurance Agency could help keep your personal property protected, like if your roommate isn't the brightest pool float in the flooded basement. Visit geico.com to see how easy it is to switch and save on renter's insurance.